taking statements from the public. And Lolly, do we have anybody in Kona?
No testifiers in Kona, but Ken Van Bergen will be on hand for any questions and any items that you have.
Thank you very much. David, have we got anybody up in Waimea?
Good morning, Chair. No, we have no testifiers this morning.
Thank you. Barbara in Pahoa?
Good morning, Chair Ford. We have no testifiers for your committee this morning.
All right, thank you. We have 2 testifiers here in Kona.
Kilo.
The first one is Dwight Vincente, to be followed by Corey Hardin. Would you both come forward to the, come on up to the testifiers table. Mr. Vincente is representing the Hawaiian Kingdom, and he is going to be speaking on Communication 641.6, 890, and 892. Mr. Vincente, please state your name and your representation, and then you may proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Dwight Vicente. I'm representing the Hawaiian Kingdom. 641.6, real property taxes. 1887, there was a Band Constitution forced upon King Kalakaua. Part of the requirement was you had to own land and pay taxes to vote. With the signing of the lottery bill on the morning of January 13, 1893, the Queen abolished the taxes that allowed foreigners to vote. And with that, U.S. Minister Stevens stated it was an act of war against the United States and removed the Queen at gunpoint. Communication 890. There's a Legislative Reference Bureau book on public lands, number 5, 1996. The history they documented is based on the Monroe Doctrine, which was applied illegally to this kingdom in 1887 with the Band Constitution and the Reciprocity Treaty. They illegally placed this kingdom under the Monroe Doctrine, which has no force and effect of law. After the removal of the Queen, the provisional government under President Stanford B. Dole instituted the policies or land policies under the Monroe Doctrine and under the Republic of Hawaii, and later under the Territory of Hawaii. And there was a number of governors appointed after 1900. Here again, the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. Each governor had his own public land policy, and yet they had no transfer of the Crown and government lands legally to them. So you have to question what was up with all this. It's all criminal. 1959, the U.S. Congress transferred lands which they did not even have possessed title in 1898. What went in 1898 was called Crown and Government lands. What came out in 1959 had no designation. So, as of today, you have to question what status does the lands hold under the Mahele as Crown and Government lands. How can those land titles just disappear and become tax map key? So there's a lot of illegal things going on with lands here in Hawaii. And it's well documented that Northwest Ordinance was used. Most people refer to it as the Monroe Doctrine. Communication 892. The state of Hawaii being a fraudulent creature of the Monroe Doctrine. Anyone being prosecuted in that name cannot be a criminal, or should not even be in jail, because the name State of Hawaii is not a name that stands for justice. It's part of the illegal system that was created back in 1887 with the Band Constitution, which refers to the Monroe Doctrine. So all that information they're passing on is not based on justice. The word justice, what is it? Under the Hawaiian Kingdom or justice under the U.S. Constitution, or justice under the Monroe Doctrine. I don't think so you can get justice under the Monroe Doctrine. It's an ordinance which was not meant to have force and effect of law. Comes in conflict with both the Hawaiian Kingdom and U.S. Constitution. So one needs to question about that information. All prosecution done in the name of the state of Hawaii. I'll end with that and reserve the rights of this kingdom under the Queen's protest of January 17, 1893 against U.S. Minister Stevens. It is yet to make its way to the U.S. Supreme Court, Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2, original but limited jurisdiction. And the other one is the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. It has to be taken to the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. to challenge this illegal application to the Hawaiian Kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vicente. Ms. Hart?
Good morning. Corey Harden speaking for myself, supporting Resolution 314 about the Kahuku coastal property. The largest coastal preserve in Hawaii, 80 miles of undeveloped coast that would enchant both residents and visitors. That's what the Kahuku Coastal Preserve could help create, along with Punalu'u, Kawa, and Honuapu. A coastal preserve this size cannot be created in other places because land costs too much. But this dream is threatened. Resorts have been proposed on this land and on nearby land. And just Mauka Kona Gardens has many vacant lots where people could build. The land, also known as Sands of South Kona, has over a mile of coastline and an accessible black sand beach. And relatively little has changed there since pre-Western contact in the late 1700s. Next picture. The area provides nesting sites for Hawaiian hawksbill turtles and habitat for green sea turtles. Endangered monk seals have been seen. A volcanic crack harbors an ankyline pool complex with some pools extending inland over 1/4 of a mile. The pools host native marine invertebrates, fish, and unique native crustaceans, including 3 candidate species of endemic ankyline pool shrimp. Next picture. The area has kipukas of native lowland dry forest ecosystems and a complex cave system with endemic organisms and unique archaeological features. Since it's next to the largest natural reserve area in the state, Manuka, protection here would also give landscape level protection of the unique ecosystem and habitats. Next picture. It has one of the largest petroglyph fields in the islands. There's a major public right-of-way to Ka'u coastal lands and ocean resources, including portions of the road to the sea. But there's no public access rights. Acquisition would solve this problem, giving a permanent legal public access to Kahuku coastal property and southern portion of Manuka Natural Area Reserve. So please protect this land and move us toward the dream of the largest coastal preserve in the islands. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harden. Before I start going through the referrals, I want to introduce the council. To my extreme left is Mr. Onishi, Mr. Yoshimoto, Ms. Smart, Mr. Hoffman, our chair of the council, Mr. Yvonne, our vice chair of the council, Mr. Pilago. To my extreme right is Mr. Ikeda. I am Brenda Ford, the vice chair. I'm sorry, no, I am the chair. That's right. I am the chair, right? I'm the chair of this committee. Mr. Blas is not here today. He is excused. There's a family emergency on the mainland, and he had to suddenly fly there and take care of it. Ms. Ford? Yes.
Can I ask that we jump to Communication 890, Resolution 315-2 on page 2, since we have Mr. Van Bergen available for comment?
Yes, Mr. Van Bergen, will you come forward? Let me read this in, as long as my voice will hold up. This is Communication 890, Resolution 314-12. Authorizes the mayor to enter into an agreement with the State of Hawaii Board of Land and Natural Resources, Legacy Land Conservation Commission, and to accept funds for the acquisition of Kahuku Coastal Property, District of Ka'u, Island of Hawaii. Authorizes acceptance of a grant from the Legacy Land Conservation Commission in the amount of $621,245 to be used towards the acquisition of Kahuku Coastal Property also referred to as the Sands of South Kona parcel, consisting of 3,127.95 acres. Resolution 49-11, adopted by the County Council on April 20th, 2011, authorized the Director of Finance to enter into negotiations for the acquisition of the subject parcel. This was introduced by Ms. Ford by request. Mr. Yagong.
Move to approve resolution 314-12 and file all related communication.
Second. Second is by Ms. Smart. Ms. Smart, go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. This is, the authorizing resolution was one of my first pieces of legislation on this council, and I'm very pleased to see that the Legacy of Lands also views this acquisition as important. Now, just to make sure it's extremely clear, and Mr. Van Bergen can correct me if I'm wrong, but they do not release the funds until all the amount needed for the purchase is gathered. I want to particularly thank Mr. Van Bergen for his hard work on this acquisition, and it is one of, it's a pretty large parcel down in Ka'u, and it's very important. Some of the locals know it as Road to the Sea as well. It's traditionally used, it's privately owned right now, however they allow people to use it, and I'm very happy to see this moving forward at this point in time, but I also wanted to give Mr. Van Bergen a chance to let us know anything that we may need to. Hi, Ken.
Good morning, Ken Van Bergen, Property Management. So this reso is basically standard procedure when it comes to accessing the grants we receive from the state. Typically, the grants are released during escrow, so if and when we get to a point where Ka'uku goes into escrow, there's actually a checklist we have to fill out and go through, and these monies are released right into escrow for the purchase. But other than that, fairly straightforward reso, and it's always nice to have matching funds to help us with our acquisitions so we can leverage more acquisitions. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have specifically regarding this.
You yield? Yes, I yield. Mr. Yagong.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ken, for being here. Really appreciate it. Ken, in case any of my numbers are incorrect, please correct me if I'm wrong. First of all, I support this. This is wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Smart, for bringing this forward. We visualize a vision of having this whole coastal line, kept in perpetuity for the residents of the county of Hawaii for in perpetuity. It's fantastic. It's a great vision. So thank you for doing this. Mr. Van Bergen, the appraised property of the property is $2.4 million. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So besides the grant money, $621,000, do we have any other monies besides the open space fund that we have, or we're expecting at this time to come up with the balance?
Yes.
Okay. Could you name those sources, please?
ROLA, which is a federal grant similar to what we used for the last Kawa purchase. It's from the it's a federal grant, and it's administered by the state through the Division of Land from the RLA and DLNR, the RLA division, and it's similar to a legacy grant. There's a little bit different paperwork involved. I don't have that total in front of me. I believe it's around $800,000.
Oh, fantastic! Because it looks like our balance is about $1.8 million with just the $621,000 grant. So, anything else besides that the one that you just mentioned that we can look forward to?
No, those are the two additional funding sources we've identified for this purchase, okay, besides the pump fund.
Okay, so that's going to basically leave us with about $1 million for us to come up with. Now, do you expect that to? Because I know we have about $1 million in the open space fund as we speak. Am I correct?
No, we have more than that. I didn't bring the balance with me, but we have, let's see, approximately 2.4. I think we have close to, I want to say 3.5 to 4 million, I think.
Okay, outstanding. So, are we looking to secure that $800,000 grant and then move forward? And is the buyer in accord with what we're trying to do here?
We do have a willing...
The seller, I'm sorry.
No, I understand. We do have a willing seller. And so, so yes, this is, but like with other, we do have, even though we have money in the open space fund, it is somewhat, of a pecking order. And right now we're still negotiating on the Po'iki purchase, and we're also entering into the Kailana South purchase now, which is going to leverage $1.6 million grant. So yes, to answer your question, we do want to move forward with this, but there are other properties that we're also working on.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last question, Mr. Van Bergen. As I say, I support this. This is a wonderful thing. You know, considering some of the controversies out in Kawa in regards to you know, we're looking at some of the preservation of the archaeological sites and probably some EVs and so forth. And certainly we're doing this after the county has purchased the property. So obviously that's going to be expenses on our part as a county to pick up the cost of, you know, doing the preservations and mitigations, which we definitely have to do for those archaeological sites that has been identified. I guess my question is, as we move forward, as a county move forward in looking to purchase even more open space to preserve for the future, is that going to be a consideration in terms of, as we work with the seller, that some of these mitigation should, if we have a willing seller that wants to sell the property to the County of Hawaii, should that cost and mitigation be done at the expense of the seller versus having the county do it after we come in and make the purchase? And is the county going to be looking at that and being part of the determination in terms of us going out and purchasing property, as far as, you know, letting the council know that there's possible cost that's going to be added on to the appraised value, because this will be cost on top of paying the appraised value. With what's been going over in Kawa, have we kind of looked at those things, and do we have a game plan?
Absolutely. We always try to leverage each acquisition the best way we can. As an example, with the Kingman purchase, we were able to hold over $200,000 back in escrow, and the owner went at their own expense and cleaned up the whole property, tore down structures. They also did a burial plan at their cost. And so we have precedents for owners participating in that process. Kawa actually was originally a $7 million deal, and then it was down to a $5 million deal. We ended up getting it at 3.9. So the owner actually participated. Yeah, we're going to pay for the archaeological survey, but we're buying property at quite a discount compared to what it initially was approved for by the council back in 2008 or whenever that was. So yes, we will take that into consideration for this property and other acquisitions, especially when we have a willing and motivated seller, how they can help us do what we have to do for the reasons we're buying the property, whether it's preservation or what have you. So yeah.
Okay, and one last question. In terms of this particular property, the Kahuku property that we're talking about, has an evaluation been done by the County of Hawaii in terms of the archaeological site? And just want to get that on record.
Can you evaluation? What do you mean
Of
by evaluation?
of any archaeological sites that may be on this property that we may have to face mitigation measures? Yeah, archaeological survey.
Oh, okay, ARC survey. Not to my knowledge.
That
Not to my knowledge.
Oh, okay. And is that something that would be encumbered upon the county or the seller?
That would be to be determined. We haven't actually negotiated a contract yet with the seller, so that would be one of the negotiating points. Who would cover that?
Okay. And again, can you tell us who the owner of the Kahuku coastal property is?
They're out of LA, a family-owned business. I forget the name of the LLC, but it's a professional land holding company.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, I yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no other comments, the motion is to approve of resolution 314-12 and file all related communications. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, saying none. Resolution 314-12 moves forward to council with a positive recommendation. Okay, is there anything else that we need to take out of order? Then I'll go back to the top of the agenda. Communication 6.34. Transfer of funds, September 16th through 30th, 2012, from Finance Controller Kay Oshiro, dated October 15th, 2012, transmitting a report of transfers authorized showing transfers made from September 16th through September 30th, 2012. May I have a motion to file communication 6.34? First by Mr. Hoffman, second by Mr. Yagong. Any questions? Seeing none. All in favor of filing communication 6.34, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing no opposition, communication 6.34 is filed. Next is communication 96.42. Report of change orders authorized September 15th through 30th, 2012. from Finance Director Nancy Crawford dated October 17, 2012, transmitting a report of change orders authorized from September 15 through September 30th, 2012. May I have a motion to file communication 96.42? First by Ms. Smart, second by Mr. Yagong. Any questions? All in favor, please, on the motion to file communication 96.42, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. It's getting late. Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, communication 96.42 is filed. Communication 641.6, update on the ad hoc committee relating to real property taxes from Councilmember Pete Hoffman dated October 11, 2012, requesting time to provide a status report on the progress of the real property tax ad hoc committee. May I have a motion to file communication 641.6?
So moved.
First by Mr. Hoffman, second by Ms. Smart. Mr. Hoffman, please go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair. That's certainly the quickest I've ever seen you go through two of those documents.
I'm under threat.
The committee, the committee held its final meeting yesterday, and we have drafted a final report. The way this works, since we are doing the ad hoc committee as a part of the Sunshine Law, or in consonance with Sunshine Law, the final report will be presented to the committee on 20 November. At that time, there will not be any discussion of the report. We can only present the report. And then it would be discussed. The first opportunity to discuss it will be at the first committee meeting on council in middle of December. So it will be the new council that will be taking up the particulars regarding this particular study and the recommendations that the ad hoc committee has made. Just without, since I cannot discuss any of the details at the moment, I can only tell you that the framework of the report is in each one of the 40 recommendations, there will be a very specific series of comments or suggested recommendations that the committee has made on each one of the IAAO recommendations to us. And that will be presented for council's action or administrative action, or however the future administration and council wish to work. So the final meeting was done yesterday, and I have submitted at least a draft report, the final draft report, to the members of the committee, and which will also be agendized and presented on the 20th of November. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions of Mr. Hoffman? Okay, I have just one question. Since this is going to appear before the on the 20th of November, which is this council, and ultimately though will be the new council, will you be available to come in and discuss this before the new council?
Yeah, somebody, both Ms. Smart and I have agreed that if we need to, we'll certainly be available at least for the first committee meeting to answer any questions or explain, the history of how we got to where we are, at least to provide comments in a transitional way and make sure that the new council understands what happened and why.
All right, thank you very much to both Ms. Smart and Mr. Hoffman. Corporation Counsel, did you have any additional comments? All right, thank you. Seeing none, all those in favor of filing communication 641.6, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, hearing none, communication 641.6 is filed. Communication 889, Bill 328. Amends ordinance number 12-86 as amended, the operating budget for the County of Hawaii for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2013. Increases revenues of $661,597 in the state grants area plan on aging account, and appropriates the same to the Office of Aging's area plan on aging account. These funds from the State of Hawaii Department of Health's Executive Office on Aging will be used to continue implementation of the Kapuna Care Program home and community-based services. This was introduced by Ms. Ford by request. Mr. Yagong. Okay, that first by Mr. Yagong, second by Ms. Smart. Any questions or comments on the acceptance of this state grant, for which I thank the State Department of Health Executive Office on Aging. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving Bill 328 and filing all related communications, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, seeing none, Bill 328 moves forward to council with a positive recommendation. Next is Communication 891, Resolution 315-12. Authorizes payment of funds of a later fiscal year and of more than one fiscal year for a multi-year lease for one multifunction copier for the Department of Research and Development. Authorizes the mayor to enter into a 5-year lease agreement for one multifunction copier to be used by the Research and Development Department's Kona office. The copier shall be leased at a cost not to exceed $129 per month, plus an amount not to exceed 3 cents for each copy in excess of the monthly print allowance. The copier currently in use is approximately 7 years old and is considered obsolete. This was introduced by Ms. Ford by request. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 315-12 and file all related communications? Okay, first by Ms. Smart, second by Mr. Yagong. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving Resolution 315-12 and filing all related communications, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Right, Resolution 315-12 was forwarded to council with a positive recommendation. Next, Communication 892, Bill 329. Amends ordinance number 12-86 as amended the operating budget for the County of Hawaii for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2013. Increases revenues of $35,836 in the Federal Grants Criminal Justice System Information Sharing ARRA account, and appropriates the same to the Prosecuting Attorney's Criminal Justice System Information Sharing ARRA account. These funds will be used to improve the efficient exchange of information within the criminal justice system by automating the transfer of case information from the Hawaii Police Department's record management system to the Prosecuting Attorney's Office HITS case tracking system and Laserfish document management system. This was introduced by Ms. Ford by request. May I have a motion to approve Bill 329 and file all related communications? First by Ms. Smart, second by Mr. Pilago. And we have before us someone from the prosecutor's office. Would you please identify yourself by name and title?
Good morning, Dale Ross, first Deputy Prosecuting Attorney for the Prosecutor's Office. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. Mr. Hoffman? No. Any other questions? Okay, first of all, I want to thank the federal government for giving us this grant. Do you have any comments you want to make?
This additional fund supplements a previous request that we appeared before council about a year ago, and so it's very welcome, and we appreciate it too.
Thank you, Ms. Ross, for coming. All those in favor of approving Bill 329 and filing all related communications, please say aye. All opposed? Saying none. Okay, Bill 329 is approved and moves forward with a positive recommendation to council. Now we're into unfinished business. Communication 868, Bill 313. Amends ordinance number 12-87 as amended relating to public improvements and financing thereof for the fiscal year July 1st, 2012 to June 30th, 2013. Adds the Public Works multi-purpose event center project for $500,000 to the capital budget. The proposed large capacity multi-purpose center is intended to hold up to 10,000 spectators and may be used by the University of Hawaii and local high school events, professional and cultural performances for residents and tourists, and to hold conventions or other large-scale functions. This was introduced by Mr. Ikeda by request. Note, there is a pending motion by Mr. Ikeda and duly seconded by Mr. Bloss to approve Bill 313. Additionally, there's a communication 868.1 from Councilmember Donald Ikeda dated October 15, 2012, transmitting a proposed amendment to Bill 313 to correct the name of the department. May I have a motion to approve Bill 313 and file all related communications?
There's a motion on the floor, Madam Chair. You don't need one.
Sorry, they're correct. I just read that. Mr. Ikeda, you have the floor.
Yes, I'll move to amend Bill 313 with the contents of communication 868.1.
Thank you. That was a second by Ms. Smart. Mr. Ikeda, you have the floor.
Yes, what happened is we somehow had the wrong department. It should have been Parks and Recreation. And this is, the purpose of this is right now, the tennis stadium has outgrown itself. It's a little too small even for Maramana, for high school graduations, university graduations. At this present time, um, Maramana can easily house 8,000 people, but I mean they can accommodate 4,000 people, but the request is for over 8,000 people. And it's the same thing when I went to the UH graduation. Some of the guests from the mainland had to sit in the Seven Seas luau watching their loved ones graduate because not enough space. And I thought there was, and also in the high school, they cannot, in Hawaii, high school is a big thing. It's like graduating college. And families want to see their children graduate high school. And even with that, they don't have enough seating. So this is, hopefully, my colleagues will support this ordinance, because all we're asking for is this is a wish list that we hope they will look into building a multi-purpose complex. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ikeda. Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a couple of issues here which I raised at the last committee meeting and I don't see addressed. First of all, I have no problem of adding this to the capital improvements project list. But there is documents attached here that appropriates the money, $500,000. Appropriates.
Excuse me, Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
We are on the amendment.
I'm sorry.
The
Okay.
amendment is just to change the name
I
of the
have no
department.
problem with the change.
All right.
You're correct. I was going back to the main motion.
All right.
Please.
Anything else you want to
That's it.
say? Okay, on the amendment to change the name to Parks and Recreation. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that passes. Mr. Ikeda, you have the floor again.
Yes, I will
I'm sorry.
explain to Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Hoffman, this is the correct procedure when you submit for CIP. It's all written like this. Someone from LRB, they probably can explain it to you. This is how all the when you submit for CIP project, CIP is a wish list, and this is the way. This is the normal procedure that is written. It's nothing unusual. Mr. Hoffman, you must come from a very rich district. You don't have to apply for CIP, so you might not be familiar, but guys like us, we come from a poor district. We need to get as much as we can, so we're quite familiar with this. But is there anyone from LRB that can explain this?
Mr. Ikeda, I believe, why don't we let Mr. Hoffman ask his questions? We probably don't need LRB. I think Mr. Hoffman's quite familiar with how to do this. But Mr. Hoffman, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, there are two issues here. First of all, the agenda only indicates that we add the item to the capital improvements project list. You can add the item without putting the appropriation to it. I don't think the agenda fully or accurately states what we're doing today. Number two, I've submitted a number of different capital improvements projects without ever indicating an appropriation, because the appropriation has to also indicate, in most cases anyway, the source of where the revenue is coming from. I disagree in the manner in which this is being done, and I again asked the colleagues and to check with finance as to how the appropriation is done as compared to just adding something to the wish list. As I say, I have no problem in approving the idea of adding the item to the wish list. I have a problem appropriating funds for this particular purpose. Those are two different actions, as I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Ikeda, would you like to respond?
Yes, if you look at the section, funds for the project shall be provided from, it's a catch-all, general obligation bonds, capital project fund, fund balance, and or other sources. It's everything. We did not specifically state it will come from one fund. It's a general statement that is normally used when you write for a CIP project. It's, if you look at, that's the reason I wanted the LRB to be here. In fact, they wrote it, so.
Mr. Hoffman?
Just as a response, appropriation of funds is requesting the funds. It is not simply to add a project to the capital improvements project list. Those are two separate and distinct items. They've always been distinct. You can add an item or a project to the capital improvements list, but you don't appropriate the funds, which means you're finding a source for those funds from somewhere in order to proceed. Most of the capital improvements projects we have, as you well know, exceed something like $145 million. We don't have, I think, even more than that as compared to whatever was on the current budget. Those projects don't have an appropriation tied to them. They simply are added to the capital improvements project list. Thank you.
May I make a comment? Mr. Katie, did you want to respond to that? Or?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
I want to call Mr. Oshiro. I'll give you this.
Rodney Oshiro, legislative analyst. In regards to amending the capital budget, our charter gives us, the council, the authority to amend the capital budget with 2/3 vote. So, this is appropriation.
May I ask Mr. Oshiro a question?
Mr. Katie, you have the floor.
No.
Okay, Mr. Hoffman?
Thank you. Two items, Mr. Oshiro. One, there are two separate items here. What the agenda states is that we're adding an item to a capital improvements project list. The agenda item does not in any way, shape, or form say we're appropriating funds. I understand that as being two distinct actions. So do you, as from what I'm saying. I have no problem with the fact of adding the item to the capital improvements list. It's not there at the moment, so we need to add it first. The second item of that is to find a source of funds to appropriate. That's a distinct, separate issue, as you've just pointed out. Number one, it's not so indicated on our agenda. That's one problem I have. But number two, as I say, I have no problem adding it to the capital improvements project list, but appropriating monies from a specific fund is a separate and distinct item. Thank you.
Section 2 of your bill says that the funds shall come from general obligation bonds, capital project fund, fund balance, and/or other sources, which is a general item that we use all the time in appropriating the monies.
May I make a comment here? I do think we got a problem here with the way this is agendized. Mr. Oshiro, normally when we go through the budget cycle and we amend the capital project budget, capital improvement project budget, and we put all of our wish list stuff on it. When we do that, we do it with a memorandum, okay? But that just takes care of it because we haven't passed the final budget yet, so we do it as kind of an overall thing. But when we want to put something on the capital improvement project, we actually write a bill, not a resolution and not a memorandum, right? We write a bill to amend, because we're amending the budget. Even though it's a wish list, we're still amending it. So I think the bill itself is correct. However, the concern I have is kind of similar to Mr. Hoffman's. The fact that we've got a line item, 110.199.5191.52, makes this look like it's a bond authorization, even though the header doesn't say anything about a bond authorization, because when we put something on the budget, we say, when we put something on the capital improvement project wish list, we say it's gonna cost, the FIS is correct, we have the transmittal is correct, and the map and everything, but we are not appropriating the money at that moment in time, because the council appropriates, the mayor allots. So the council is saying, by passing something, that we are appropriating this on the wish list for $500,000. But when it actually comes to getting the money out of general obligation bonds, that requires a completely different header that says authorizing, just like I did with the police station that several of us amended. You're authorizing a bond float. And I feel, when I look at this, I feel like this is kind of a halfway between each one of them. It's almost, and I would not want this to authorize a bond float. And I'm having a concern about this line item.
We're not authorizing a bond float. We're adding a project to the capital budget. This is not an authorization for a bond float.
I understand that.
And the account number that you mentioned is that, I believe, I'm not sure, but all of the projects that we have on the capital budget have their own account numbers. And that's why we asked for this account number from the finance department.
I don't remember ever seeing a line item number on a request to put something on the capital.
This is part of our standard procedure that we ask finance department for an account number for this particular project.
But you're not asking from all projects. I mean, I just issued seven things for the university over in West Hawaii, and I didn't have one of these numbers on any of them. In fact, the only time
that was during our budget process.
No, I just finished 7 of them just within the last 30 days.
Each one of them had an account number.
I didn't put any account numbers
We
on.
did.
Who's we?
Legislative Research Branch. We asked your staff to get these account numbers from the Department of Finance.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Hoffman, go ahead.
At no time during the course of your 7 items did you have an appropriation page attached to that.
That's correct.
An appropriation is the actual showing where money is coming from for action. That's what an appropriation is, by definition.
I believe the appropriation.
Excuse me, just a minute, Ms. Rodney, you'll have your chance.
Hang on.
Regardless of how we want to look at this is not, though, a more fundamental problem, which I tried to point out at the last committee meeting, is that the agenda item only says adds the project to the capital improvements project list. It says absolutely nothing about appropriating funds. And that's what you're doing. You cannot, under the, I would have a problem looking at this, simply looking at the way it's agendized, that we haven't agendized it properly if your intent is to add it to the list and provide the appropriation. That's the argument, that's another argument. But this agenda item is not correct in the manner in which it's stated. You're doing 2 things here. You're adding and appropriating. You can't do that. This is an expenditure of funds, and it's not so indicated on the agenda item. We're wrong here.
All right, hang on, Mr. Oshiro. Mr. Hoffman, thank you. Mr. Yoshimoto. We've had a suggestion that we take a short recess that says waiting for finance to come down here. And I think that would be a wise thing. I don't want to have to postpone this again, but I'm more than willing to do that if there's any question about this. So I'm going to put us in recess for a few minutes.
show you where.
I stopped thinking. This is a better question.
Is it incorrect to put the account number on? Never did it. This is the normal procedure. No, we always did. We never had this account number. No, but on the ordinance, we never listed that phone number. That's what it's unbelievable. Yeah. No. No, but this is what argument is, because there's an account number. Yeah. But this is argument. That's argument.
You need a little copy one minute that I'm trying to find out. That was all I was out. This is never changed. Never changed while I was away. Maybe there's, oh, you know what? Let me go out. I'm sure we provided. Here's my question. Well, I think the question is twofold. That it should say that the funds should be provided from total obligation. And it is like that on the other agendas. Well, that's for the past few months.
So if I look at this, that doesn't put it with well, it seems like a lot. Ms. Carson, may I see you?
And I thought that's why, honestly, why you had postponed it. I really did. The reason you postponed it. I see that now. But when you postponed it, it was right after my comment about not having the agenda indicate what we were doing. Because if we were adding something, but
What? Is it on? Yeah. What Occupy group are you on Facebook? Are you on Facebook?